Reddit, what is the worst secret your sir is keeping from you, but that you actually know? He lied about his last name, age, degree, being in the military and being a sex offender. I only figured out the lie about the degree and broke it off. Then started stalking me and I figured out everything else. I don't know if he figured out that I know everything else. We live in a relatively small town and a girl was about to meet up with him. I warned her. He is still lying about his age. You're not 29, Charlie. You're 42 and f*** you. Ex-girl. She had a fairly large scar on her back and was incredibly self-conscious about it. She wouldn't even take her shirt off the first time we had sex. When I asked her about it, she said she had fallen from her horse when she was young. Fast forward a little and I'm out finding her a birthday present and have enlisted the help of her friend. I pick out a sexy singlet and her friend just looks at me like I'm stupid. Apparently the scar on her back, which the singlet clearly revealed, wasn't from a fall, but an abusive ex-boyfriend who had pushed her onto his motorbike's exhaust pipe and burnt her. We ended on good terms. And I never told her I knew. I hope she is doing well. Was a prostitute and was in some adult films. And worked as an exotic dancer when young and hungry. Retired. Bought a food truck. I loved the coffee and grilled cheese sandwiches. Fell in love. Doesn't think I know. Doesn't know I don't care. I'll never tell. Update. P.S. How did I find out? Years ago a now deceased friend of mine, someone who'd been in the life too, told me, showed me proof. I've always been her second option. He claims he doesn't love the new cat his parents adopted. Claims she always just sleeps in his room for some reason. Loves that cat so much. I know she ate those cookies. My ex. And the cheating. She thinks I found out when I looked at her phone, but I knew about 2 months earlier when she sent me a pic of herself watching Netflix in bed. I don't think she realized that the dude's face was 100% visible reflected in the laptop. After that it was a matter of me being in denial and trying to fix things. When we were in the hospital for some weird pain that I had, uninsured, and the doctors thought it might be cancer, I lost it a bit. She was so brave for me, but her mother called. She went into the bathroom to talk but she didn't know that the sound echoed pretty loudly into the room. I heard her break down, sobbing, telling her mom she didn't know how we were going to pay for treatment and that it looked really bad. I'll never tell her I heard her, but God, it was heartbreaking. When she came out you wouldn't even know she was even upset. She hid it so well. She sat right down and told me everything was going to be fine with such determination and such certainty. Literally took out her computer then and there and started making a spreadsheet of our finances to fit in cancer. I knew how much she loved me in that moment and how important it was for her that she was brave for me. I don't know why, but I got so calm after that. I haven't broken down like that since, even with worse news. Everybody likes snacks, right? Some of us like chips, others like fruit, or yogurt. Well, my wife likes croutons. Frozen croutons to be exact, and she tries to hide it like an alcoholic hides bottles of vodka. Where does she hide the croutons? In the freezer. At first I'd put them in the pantry when we get home from the grocery store, but they'd always end up in the freezer. I'd be like, Hon, what's up with the croutons in the freezer? And she'd act like she had no idea what I was talking about. Now here's the thing. I've tried them and now I'm addicted to them too. So now I openly eat cold croutons out of the freezer as a snack. And she tells me what a weirdo I am while she eats half the bag with me. No idea why she's embarrassed to admit what a genius she is for discovering such an awesome snack. By the way, the best kind is Chatham Village garlic and cheese flavor. A girl I dated a few years back had just graduated with her bachelor's, so I took her out for a night on the town. Her and our friends got absolutely demolished, and since this was before Uber, I volunteered to be DD. So around 2 a.m. she's tanked. We head out and she wants Crystal burgers. Very adamant about that. So I stop by Crystal's and order a steamer pack so I can have some too and then have leftovers. She eats somewhere around 8. I get her home, get her into her bed, and she immediately passes out. I am sitting next to her watching some TV when I smell something. I notice that she has just shit herself. She is one of those people who would be so ashamed of herself if anyone found out, so I just left. I called her the next day and told her I dropped her off. got her some water and headed home. Never mentioned her herself or anything, so to this day she thinks she did it in her sleep after I left. I could have stayed and helped her clean it up, and I probably should have. But she would have cried over that and avoided me sporadically for weeks. I knew for a year and a half about my engagement ring and never told him until after he proposed. He was not so good at hiding. My wife dropped my iPhone in a potty toilet. Luckily it has been so used there was a large pile of which gently held the phone above the liquid. She cleaned it off and gave it back to me. A year later I upgraded and gave her my old phone. She insisted on purchasing a new cover even though I had a high-end OtterBox. I never understood why until one of the kids told on her. My ex made up a person and spoke to me as them. We met when we were quite young and were both pretty weird. I put it down to insecurity and wanting to look like she had cool friends. I was a little older. I never let on that I knew because it would have been super embarrassing for her, and this was literally the start of the relationship. She made up quite a few stories about this guy and I got a few emails from him. She didn't realize that changing the name of the account didn't actually change the address, which was fully visible. She smokes when I'm not home. I know this because I always move the router to the window where the signal's best. When I come home the router is in a different position away from the window. I put it back without her knowing and call her out for smoking. She has no idea how I keep finding out. I'm his first girlfriend. He's 42. ETA. This isn't the worst BC, it's something to be ashamed of. It's just something he doesn't know I know. I wish he'd been upfront about it in the beginning, but it doesn't change how much I adore him in the least. Edited again. Because I had to tell him why I was on Reddit so much tonight. Now he knows I know. Thanks a lot, Yal. He got a good laugh at this whole thing. I knew he was a keeper. Me in 21 years. His affair. I knew for 3 weeks before he left to look after his allegedly sick dad, and for 2 weeks after before I told him I knew. He said last week he's ended it and sees what he has missed, but I know he's still sleeping and living with her whilst messaging me. Basically what he just did to me. I'm his wife. We were together 12 years. He just can't stop lying. He may be genuinely remorseful right now, but I can't get past his deceit. I know she looks at my Reddit. She waits until I sleep to steal my pillows. She is breaking up with me tomorrow. Said she wants to talk, and it's not something we can talk about in texts. We are on the verge of a breakup for like 2 months now. Feels bad. My soon-to-be ex-wife met another guy about a year and a half ago. She was so bad at hiding it that I thought she wanted to get caught. Posting romantic stuff on her Instagram when we hadn't been romantic in a long time. Confronted her. Lied even with solid evidence. A few months later stuff starts disappearing from the house. Pretty obvious that she's moving out. Then we started to have no money every month, and I have a pretty okay job. Realized she was stealing money basically by paying her bills twice a month with 3 to 4x the minimum payment and not paying mine. Let it go on for a bit and finally confronted her. She doesn't admit to it. I finally just pull my check from our joint account and she says she's leaving but is going to be homeless. The next day she had changed her Facebook back to her maiden name and had a picture of her and the other guy at the new place. I don't know if this counts. Before my ex-wife and I had first split up, I had found out she was hiding a storage unit with an entire apartment set aside in it, just in case the breakup went bad. She worked graveyard, and I was using her laptop while watching The Walking Dead to use the story sync. And because she uses all Apple products, her iMessage was tied to her MacBook. I don't normally read her messages, but considering the amount of notifications that were chiming in, I could tell she was having a rather lengthy conversation. I opened it and started reading, and it turns out she had sent a picture message of a fully packed storage unit to her best friend out in South Carolina. It had furniture, appliances, essentially everything she needed to start out with an apartment on her own. I sat on that for several months. before finally bringing it up out of nowhere. We were literally sitting on the couch one night and I just turned to her and said, "So I know about your storage unit." She about shit a brick. It was the last thing she ever expected to hear because she thought she was being sneaky. Conversation actually went quite well though, and we ended up deciding that we were going to file for divorce. That divorce just finalized March 3rd of this year.